So Alberta Premier Danielle Smith just dropped what is probably Canada's worst anti-trans policy yet. And it's set to include sweeping restrictions on gender-affirming care and pronoun use in schools, in addition to restrictions on trans women and girls' participation in sports. Here's what you need to know about just how bad these new policies are going to be for trans people in Alberta and beyond.
My fellow Albertans, today I wish to address a very sensitive issue involving our children and gender identity. This is not always an easy conversation to have.
So that's part of a 7-minute video full of stock footage and twangy sentimental music that Alberta Premier Danielle Smith shared online, detailing the new so-called parental rights policies coming to Alberta and what they're set to cover.
As Premier of this province, I want every Albertan that identifies as transgender to know I care deeply about you and I accept you as you are.
And do you, Danielle? Because it's kind of like you looked at the recent policies in New Brunswick and Saskatchewan and said, why not more? Because this one's not just about pronouns in schools, we're roping trans kids' medical care access in there too. So in the policies coming down the pipe in Alberta, gender-affirming surgery, including both top and bottom surgery for anyone under the age of 18, is banned. Puberty blockers and hormone access is also banned for anyone 15 and under. The province will require parental notification and consent for students 15 and under who want to change their name or pronouns at school. And even for 16 and 17-year-olds, parents will still be notified if they change their name or pronouns at school. And parental consent is required every single time a teacher wants to give education around gender or sexuality in school. Plus, any third-party education resources have to be approved by the Alberta Ministry of Education, which is led by this guy, if you wanted to know. Oh yeah, and for good measure, they're going after trans women and girls' participation in sports too, by creating women's-only divisions in sports organizations that ban trans women. We all knew this was coming back when Smith's United Conservative Party passed a resolution back in November to introduce a school pronoun policy. But this could end up being the worst set of anti-trans laws in Canada by far. And that's worrying, because just like how Saskatchewan and New Brunswick led the charge on these pronoun policies, policies like restricting puberty blocker access can spread to other conservative-led provinces too. And I hate that we have to keep saying this, I hate it. But all of these directives, from restrictions on puberty blocker access to banning trans girls from sports, are not based on actual facts or science or any of that. It's all politics. And that's why it's so wild to hear Smith frame this as some sort of gentle caretaking of trans kids and encourage adults to depoliticize the issue.
I understand how controversial and divisive discussions on topics of sexuality and gender can be, especially when those conversations involve children. I would therefore ask that as we work through implementing these policies, that we, as adults in this province, do all we can to depoliticize the discussion and focus on the well-being of the children involved.
Introducing policies like this is explicitly politicizing the issue, and it's frankly scary to see this sort of American-style anti-trans legislation actually happening here in Canada too.